Okay, the first thing I want to be clear about, you want to be very clear and intentional when you are looking for a job, right? And this is what I mean by superpower. What is your superpower? If you decide you want to have 3 different resumes and you want to exemplify 3 different things, I want you to be intentional about the perspective you see your resume. This is not just jotting down what I did for company A and company B. No, this is your opportunity to highlight what it is about you. What did you bring to the role? What did you bring to the project or the process that you have listed on the piece of paper on your resume? So I'm gonna approach this as if I was looking for a role in IT audit as a manager or above, right? And so I've gone to LinkedIn, I have searched IT audit, and these are all the roles that are coming up, right? So the first thing that I definitely want to acknowledge is, what industry am I trying to be in? That matters, because like the way that they word things and what they're looking for is going to be different, even based on the role, right? So you want to be very intentional in terms of industry. So I'm just going to quickly scroll. Visa sounds cool. Known a few people that worked at Visa. By the way, did I mention like IT audit, like across the world is such a tight-knit group. Like you are going to run into people who know people who know people. Okay, so yeah, I think I'm gonna pick on this Visa one. Yeah, let's do it. Why not, right? Let's do it. So I'm gonna click on IT Audit Senior Manager, working in Foster City, California, and I am gonna scroll down the company description. We're just gonna skip that. Job description. So bang, bang, bang. There's a few things you need to pay attention to. They have listed 1, job description, 2, essential functions, 3, basic qualifications, and then preferred qualifications. All of this means something, guys, because check this out. This is what you do. This is what most people do. Oh, they want 8 or more years of work experience. And they're looking for someone that has like 5 years, at least with a master's or a law degree. Dang it, that ain't me. Okay, first of all, y'all, if they have listed basic and then preferred qualifications, and then they took the time also to list up here, what is it called? Essential functions? That means give me a mix. I'm looking for a bunch of different people with a bunch of different qualifications, and we're gonna find the right candidate. So even if you match 1, 2, 5 of these bullet points, apply for the job. You have nothing to lose. Apply for the job anyway. You never know. Essential functions. What I'm gonna do is, when I'm looking for a job, I'm looking for in the description key words, buzzwords for like, and again, we're sticking with verbs, active verbs. Like, what are they looking for? So this one happens to list serve as a key contact with client management. That sounds like communication to me. So let me make sure on my resume that I include communication sounding things that where I engaged with management. You see how I was able to transpose that from one to the other, right? That's the first example. So they talk about audit process and scope, boom. As an IT auditor, because I have experience, I automatically know that they are talking about audit programs. They're asking, does she know how to write a program, create one, organize, kind of pull one together, et cetera, right? Let's move on. Lead the execution of the assessment. Does she have leadership skills? That's basically what they're asking. So that's what I would then say, okay, let me go to my resume. And so for each one of my jobs, notice I said each, not one specific job. For all of my past jobs, I'm going to think about times when I was in a leadership role, and I'm going to be careful to use buzzwords that kind of like trigger leadership, right? And so how do I do that specific thing? Leadership. I don't want to keep saying lead, right? So instead, what I'm going to do is go to powerthesaurus.org, and I'm gonna type in leader. Actually, I'm just gonna type in lead. So now I'm gonna scroll through all manage. Manage is a word that basically means the same thing as leadership or leading, right? Control. What else do I like here? Govern maybe not so much. Supervise, principal. There are so many different words that you can use. Oversee, that's a good one. I like that. So there are different words that you can actually use to define or describe the same things, right? So if you kind of run out of like, well, I only did a few things at this specific job, and so I don't really know how to like make that sound like leadership. Use different verbs, folks. Use different verbs to describe the same thing. That's one way to do it. This next bullet, it says assess audit findings. So let's say you're not currently in audit, but you need to convey that you know what that means and that you know what you're doing, right? So assess audit findings and gaps is basically saying, do I know how to sit in a room and communicate to people what I have found and what recommendations I am advising? So how do we do that? Report writing. So can I think of ways in which I have done some form of technical writing or where I wrote reports, or did I have to do like memos at another role in order to communicate up to leadership things that were happening, right? You can finesse this any way you want to, but make it sound good. Use active verbs to do that. And so I would basically look at all of my previous jobs. Where have I done some form of reporting up information? And I would pull that out and make sure that's on my resume, because that, again, transpose. We want to transform and transpose from resume to the actual job. All right. So that was essential functions. Let me get down to qualifications, right? So let's say you don't meet all of the qualifications. Actually, let's go back. Let's say you actually meet some of the qualifications. I want to pay attention to something really quickly, right? I'm a certification girl. What are they looking for in terms of technical certifications? They say, do you have a CISSP? Do you have a CEH or a CISM? But then they also list the audit certifications you can have. So I actually think this is a really good job description in which they say, hey, if you don't have an IT audit certification like a CISA, we will also take these technical certifications. And so always be mindful in like, when you're looking for a role, what type of certifications are they asking for? Maybe you should get that so that you can open up your world to these type of roles that may be available to you. Oh, also, they even list project management certifications. Good God, good job, Visa. All right, so I'm looking at, and then I want to scroll down here just really careful. They actually list mental and physical requirements. This is dope. All right, so let me scroll back up here to preferred qualifications. There are some things that they're listing here that are soft skills that you really want to like nail, okay? Because soft skills is like, this is the low-hanging fruit, right? If you don't qualify for a job, use your soft skills as a strong suit. What's your superpower in that regard, right? So if you're a great writer or you're great at time management, which they actually list here, strong time management skills, how do you show that on a resume? How do you show that in each particular role that you've been on, that you kept people on time, in order, et cetera, right? Also, I think when we talk about technical experience, especially if you're trying to get into tech, people really do pride like you being like, you know your stuff in terms of the technical aptitude. So how can I basically show that? I think a lot of times, let's say it's coding. I told you before, this girl don't code. I told you that? Okay, cool. If you do code, all right, it's helpful to basically list all of the coding languages that you may have. But in the instances of, let's say I worked in DevOps, I like to pick on that a lot. What are the different tools and systems that you rely on? Like, so in this case, let's say you did a lot of Jira in AWS, and let's say you also use Informatica. So I would want to list all of those tools and systems on my resume, just so you know that I know what I'm doing, right? And that I have the technical aptitude. And then if there are any kind of services within those tools that you are a specialty in, list those out, because those actually may give you the leg up from someone who's got their JD but ain't worked a day in their life, right? Trust and believe, there are two types of people in this world. There are people with experience and there are people that have gone to school and got an education. One ain't greater than the other because they both bring like wonderful qualities to a role. So don't let that hinder you. Actually make it work for you if you have experience over education. All right, so let's just assume that I have taken this specific role that I want to apply for. By the way, you should probably be applying to like 5 jobs every week just because it's good to interview, right? Let's say I have the job, I have the resume down and I've saved it, I'm ready to get going, okay? Make sure that you actually list your resume on different websites. So places like Indeed, places like Glassdoor, places like LinkedIn, obviously. And there are other job sites. I can't even think. Canva's a great one, by the way. There are places if you would just put your resume out there, right? Put it out to the universe. Recruiters are crawling all of these websites. And so there's more than one way to be seen other than submitting on an actual company website. Make sure you post your things because there are crawlers out there, you know, looking for certain buzzwords on resumes. Save them in either doc or PDF version. That makes it easier to read, right? And makes it easier to kind of these software systems that they use for resumes, like they can actually read through the file. I think doc and PDF are probably best. But these are different ways to just kind of make sure that you're broadcasting, that people know that you exist. So on top of applying on the Google or the Apple or the Meta website, make sure that your resume is also on these job boards. All right, so I think that's it for now, because this is a lot, and I feel like I am missing something even while I talk to you. I'll come back. If there's more to share in terms of resumes, I'll come back, but I think this is just a little bit of nuggets that I want you to have as you are creating your resume in 2022. Feel free to ask me questions if you have any. Contact me via email, and yeah, I'll see you back here, folks. Catch you later.